Welcome to Hero Dogs Clubhouse. Today, we're talking about how to find a vet your reactive dog can actually trust, and the practical changes that can make the waiting room, exam room, and recovery afterward easier for both of you. It is an incredibly common, frustrating experience. You hand your dog off, wait anxiously, and when the vet brings them back, they smile and say, "He was amazing in there." But the second you take the leash, you can feel the tension radiating off your dog. You know they weren't amazing. They are completely wrung out. Outward compliance is not internal calm. In reality, your dog's nervous system is actually locked in a massive freeze response. When we subject a dog to overwhelming trigger stacking, unfamiliar scents, loud noises, and forced handling, their active resistance fails, and their body simply shuts down to survive the moment. The trade-off here is entirely one-sided. To the medical staff, your dog looks quiet and compliant, allowing them to work quickly. But internally, your dog suffers a severe physiological stress spike that lingers in their bloodstream long after you drive home. That hidden spike is exactly why your dog falls apart 3 days later. They exhibit heightened reactivity on Tuesday's walk or jumpiness in the living room because their stress bucket is still overflowing from Friday's fine vet appointment. You are not permanently stuck with frightening vet visits. Strategic preparation, direct communication, and relationship building with the right clinical staff can genuinely change this reality. Protecting a reactive dog's nervous system means we have to stop accepting quiet submission as a successful appointment. A truly good vet visit requires active collaboration. Look at this visit timeline. The standard route is built for efficiency, not nervous system regulation. But fear-free certified clinics actively redesign this workflow through slower pacing and low-stress handling. Even without certification, you can build this alternative path yourself, the advocate route, if you find a collaborative veterinary staff willing to listen. Taking this route starts with a phone call. Before you ever bring your dog in, you call the clinic and ask specific logistical questions. You ask if you can wait outside or if the vet is willing to conduct exams on the floor. This establishes clear boundaries and secures a collaborative medical plan before your dog ever steps foot inside the building. The required trade-off here is your own temporary social discomfort. You have to risk feeling like the difficult client, asking for special treatment, in order to secure the accommodations your dog actually needs. I have personally walked out of clinics that refuse to listen. Today, I routinely drive 30 to 40 minutes past several closer clinics simply because I know my current vet will honor these boundaries. Trading geographical convenience for a veterinarian who will actually listen to your concerns is the single highest leverage investment you can make for your dog's care. Following the standard timeline, we hit a massive bottleneck, the waiting room. It's a trigger-stacking environment of tight spaces and unpredictable encounters. The alternative path loops entirely around this. You bypass it by calling from your car, waiting outside, or taking a slow safari walk until the room is ready. This completely eliminates a massive source of emotional load before the actual medical event even begins. It does require slight logistical maneuvering and clear coordination with the front desk staff the moment you pull into the parking lot. Bypassing the waiting room is not overprotection. It is a clinical, strategic reduction of unnecessary stress. Once you are inside the exam room, you can lower the tension by bringing familiar toys or high-value treats. Explicitly ask the vet for a few minutes of settling time so your dog can acclimate before any medical tools appear. Down at the exam stage of the timeline, we hit another divergence point. You can ask your vet to do the physical examination right down here, on the floor, instead of lifting your dog onto the standard metal table. This prevents the intense vulnerability of being hoisted into the air and held down, allowing your dog to stay near you and co-regulate using your physical presence. This accommodation adds a few extra minutes to the appointment, which means it requires a veterinarian willing to pause their standard rapid-fire workflow to work at your dog's pace. Moving the exam to the floor gives your dog back a crucial sense of grounding in an environment they otherwise cannot control. For the parts of the exam that do require handling, we use cooperative care. This involves teaching your dog start button behaviors, like resting their chin in your hand, which gives them a way to actively consent to being touched. This requires weeks of consistent training in your own living room. You build these start button behaviors and create positive tool associations long before booking the actual appointment. Through this practice, your dog gains predictability and a functional way to communicate pause when they feel overwhelmed. This same logic applies to muzzle training. A muzzle is a responsible safety tool for medical handling. It is not a punishment, a failure of your training, or a verdict on your dog's character. We have to acknowledge the clinical reality that some physical restraint is medically necessary, such as during x-rays, but a collaborative vet will clearly explain why the restraint is needed and apply flexibility wherever possible. The trade-off is the significant upfront investment of your own time, but that effort shifts your dog's perception of restraint from an episode of forced trauma to a predictable, familiar pattern. The hardest work happens in the living room, because predictability built at home is your dog's ultimate defense against panic in the clinic. This simple checklist summarizes the strategy. We cannot remove all stress from medical care, but we can entirely remove the unnecessary stress of the waiting room, the exam table, and the element of surprise. If you are a dog parent exhausted by the days of behavioral fallout following a fine vet visit, this playbook gives you a different way forward. It is genuinely difficult to take on the role of advocate. Pushing back against standard medical pipelines requires real emotional labor. So here is your small action for this week. Choose exactly one specific request from this list to make before your next appointment. Ask to call from the car, or request a floor exam. You do not have to overhaul the entire veterinary experience perfectly in a single visit. Advocacy is a muscle. You build it over time through small, deliberate conversations with the clinic staff. Every single step you take to prepare, train, or advocate directly reduces the emotional load on your dog. A truly good vet visit is something you build, not something you hope for.